Welcome back to ABCNews.com's Top Line. We're joined now by Republican strategist and suffering Bengals fan, Kevin Madden. Kevin, let's start with this Joe
Later
Wilson.
You'll have to explain how you are a Bengals fan, but we'll get there.
You don't have time in this show.
We'll Twitter it later. Let's start with this Joe Wilson resolution. Democrats clearly feel strongly about this, but Congressman Wilson's apologized and said that's all the apologies you're going to get. You don't need to do it on the House floor. What do you think the political implications are of this coming to a vote this afternoon?
Well, I think it's in Washington there's always a line where you have a potential overreach, and I think this is one. I mean, taking time on the House floor to go out and ask somebody, or taking time on the House floor to go out and ask somebody to apologize for an apology that they've already given, that sends a message to the American public that Washington is now again playing partisan politics. They're not worried about the big issues, and that they're wasting a lot of time. It's essentially the American public will look at Washington and say, is this really what we sent you there to do? What about health care? What about Afghanistan? What about the economy? That's what you should be focused on.
I get that, and obviously so did Nancy Pelosi and President Obama and other Democrats who were looking to move on. But this larger conversation about race and the role race is playing into this, and I just wonder how you think the images that I discussed with Barbara Lee there, guns at the president's town hall meetings, some really offensive signs, not just protesting the president's policies, but some personal signs about the president and his race that we've seen. Obviously, he's already apologized, but the lack of courtesy provided to the president from Joe Wilson. Is there something in that aggregate that you're worried about for your party, that the extreme starts to define the party?
Well, I think extremes ought not to define either party, and I don't think that the extremes are limited.
Specifically about yours.
I think the extremes are not limited to either party also. But I think, yes, I mean, one of the problems that you have, one of the challenges you have when you're communicating your views is whether or not those images, those debates begin to dominate the larger share of your party's ideas. And I think that's one of the charges that the Republican Party has right now, is to continue to go out there and talk about what they're for, the big issues that they care about, the ideas that they're putting forward, a party of reform.
Do you think
rather
that's
than
happening
having
yet?
it? No, I don't think it has.
Okay.
And I think that the larger part of the American electorate that remains persuadable realizes that there are rhetorical extremes on both sides of the parties, and it's something that we have to be aware of, but I don't think it's actually saddled the party to this point.
And the president, of course, is going to continue to make his case all through the weekend, doing the so-called full Ginsburg, including Univision, not Fox News. Of course, an interesting call there. But what do you think of the strategy here? We've seen in our latest ABC News Washington Post poll, people telling pollsters that the more they hear about this, actually the less they like about some of the plans. But he's going to go out there and try to sell this to as many folks in as many ways as possible.
Well, one of the challenges you have, too, right now for the Democrats, those on the Hill and the White House, is that there are so many competing messages coming out of the Capitol Hill and then the White House, and they're clashing against each other, and the public doesn't know what to think. And when they do learn more about it, they don't like the president's policies. So I think the big worry for the White House has to be whether or not, when you have 5 different shows on one day, all possibly carrying competing messages, whether or not the public again remains more confused than when they started watching these shows.
Well, if there's 5 different headlines,
competing messages from the same man,
right? I mean, whenever you put one of your candidates or your principal on a Sunday show, the reason that you do so is because you want to be able to drive news with one message across all of the other shows and a lot of the print and wire stories that come out of it.
Quickly also, do you think there's a danger for Obama in overexposure, and what is that danger?
I think the worry is that it's gone beyond overexposure, and now we have what I would call the Obama omnipresence. You almost can't escape this president. It goes beyond just cable news, and it goes into whether or not you're flipping on ESPN and you're seeing him talk about basketball, or you turn on the Lifetime channel and you hear what Michelle Obama is wearing this week. And I think that begins to wear on a lot of people. And the other thing is that the president keeps, and he tries to hit reset with a big speech or an appearance on a major media outlet, and that becomes one of these things where it starts to dilute the message, and the message is that he just keeps carrying another message, and that begins to hurt him, I believe.
Well, if he wants to make the case right here at Top Line, this chair is always...
Well, every show, none of that applies to this show.
Exactly right. Kevin Madden, thanks for being here. Appreciate
Thanks a lot, Kevin. That does it for this edition of Top Line. Click us on again tomorrow.
Twitter.com/TheNote. So favorite Patrick Swayze movie?